Welcome to Let's Talk with Dr. Robin. In this podcast, topics will be discussed that promote the daily management of life. While this information is meant to supplement your journey towards healthy emotional well-being, it is not intended to take the place of seeing a licensed mental health professional. I am Dr. Robin C. Wiley, a licensed clinical social worker with a private therapy practice in New Jersey. Thank you for joining today's conversation. Greetings, everyone. I hope everybody is, we're actually recording over the weekend, so I hope everybody's having a good weekend. Hi there, Bryce.
Hi. How you doing? Good morning. Oh, I say good morning.
Right, I know, right?
Good afternoon.
Yes. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How's it going?
Not too bad, I tell you all the time, we're always running a rat race, right? So
yes.
It's just, constantly running, but, doing all right, though. Doing all right. Looking forward to this upcoming week. Looking forward to some things. So, everything's good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing good.
Good.
I'm doing good. I got a lot of stuff going on as usual.
Right.
There's always, but, trying to make sure I'm making time to get some information out there to our audience.
Absolutely.
Because that's, of course, very important to me. And so, when I thought about today, what to talk about, and something that is kind of like, certainly on the horizon is the holidays. The holidays are upon us. And the holidays bring about a lot of, it brings up a lot of stuff. So,
it does.
The holidays are certainly, and I want to say it's like a range of emotions. So going from, a joyous time,
right.
Stirring up feelings of happiness, vacation. So people are usually looking forward to that, like vacations and that kind of stuff.
Right.
All the way to, frustration, sadness, it can bring up, feelings of grief, if we've experienced loss, close to the holidays, around the holidays, or just within this year or so, or past
couple of
years or what have you. Right. And so as a result of that, sometimes it can be difficult to cope and navigate through the holidays.
Sure.
And there can be many sources of the happiness, and there can be many sources of, the distress and the frustration.
It's like a balance, like a whirlwind at some times.
It can be. Yeah. It can be. So what I wanted to, talk about today is to give some tips on how to cope with the holidays. Okay. And granted, this, just like anything that we talk about, in this podcast, it certainly doesn't take away from the fact of, if you need to talk to somebody, if you need to have a greater and a bigger conversation.
Sure.
But this is, some things in general. And I'm speaking from the place of, a lot of times during the holidays, we are feeling more obligated to do things, whether it's doing things for other people, whether it's spending time with people that we don't normally spend time with, what have you. And so I'm going to be speaking from that context, or within that context. Sure. So one of the things first is I would say, I'm about to knock over the table here. One of the things I would say is the first thing is acknowledge the reality of your situation. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, I can't speak to one specific situation, because everybody's situation is individual to them. Right. So, but I would say, acknowledge the reality of what your situation is. And what I mean by that is like, if this is about, do you have family that you're going to go visit? Do you not have family? And we're going to talk in a minute about, defining family, because when I say family, I don't necessarily mean biological family.
Right. Whoever you consider.
Right. Whoever you consider, because we use, so family is to me a very subjective word. People may not agree with me on that, but I think we live in a day and time where we realize that, family is really who's there for you.
Right. Who's there, who's got your back.
And so it can definitely encompass those that are biologically blood related to us, but it can also encompass, very good friends and what have you.
Sure. I think it's genius actually that we're even having this conversation, because it almost seems like you're going to like articulate an outline, like a plan of action. That's what it
I'm going to try a little bit because for therapists, all of my therapist friends and any therapists out there, we know that this is the time of year where we're having these conversations with our clients. And if you're not having those conversations, you need to be, because the holidays bring up a lot of stuff for people.
Right. Yep.
And it's not all good.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
even if it's just about people trying to navigate, the financial part of holidays,
Right.
buying gifts for folks, people really go into a lot of debt also during the holidays.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. All of that
is all
pulled together is looking at what is the reality of your situation. And that's the good, the bad, and the indifferent.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So we got to be honest with ourselves. Like, what can I give? What can I not give? And I mean, whether that's physically give of yourself, emotionally give of yourself.
Right.
For some folks, because of what they may have experienced in the last year and a half, 2 years, what have you, they don't have a lot. There's not a lot in the tank.
Right.
So that, that comes into play too.
Right.
So just keeping that in mind.
Right.
The other thing too, and I mean, I'll get into this a little bit more, but keep in mind that, and I'll say this, like personality versus role. And this is going to be like a little bit of a sidebar. I'm going to try not to get into it too much because I want to get to the rest of my tips.
Okay.
But when we think about like knowing your family, for instance, oftentimes we look at our family and we expect from our family based on the role that they play.
Right.
So whether it's mother, father, sister, brother, cousin, what have you, versus the person that they are. And what I mean by that is, like, here we go. Before you were a father, before you were a brother, you were exactly. You're a person first.
That's right.
So personality supersedes your role.
Sure.
Now that's not for everybody. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying as it like sometimes people fall into a role and it changes them.
Right.
It can.
Right.
But a lot of times when we have expectations of what we feel like our family members in particular should do, we do that based on the role that they play.
Yeah, not the person. I mean,
right. This is my family member, so they should do this.
Yeah.
Or people just in general feel like, we're family, so family, this is what family's supposed to do. So sometimes we have to really discern, like, is this person capable of doing it? They may be in this role, but their personality does not dictate that that's who they that's what they're going to do.
They may want to do it, but they may just not.
Well, you just got to look at them for who they are.
For who they are. And accept them for who they are, too.
And accept them and set your expectations accordingly.
So that's the struggle.
Yeah, that is the struggle. Ooh. It is. So my next tip is create a plan. So, and I'm saying do that sooner rather than later. Like, we're on the cusp of Thanksgiving, you know how it is.
Right.
September comes in and it's like people go right to, they do a little bit Halloween, they go right to like Christmas.
Right.
And Thanksgiving doesn't really get a lot of,
which I don't understand why. I was on a previous show and I was like, I don't even understand that why, Thanksgiving. I mean, why Halloween's a holiday? It's not even a holiday.
What is that? Yeah. Well, it's a man-made.
But whatever.
But yeah, it's you're right. It's like all those other. I mean, there's a holiday. Like you could probably have a holiday. There's a holiday every day. There's something to buy a card and a gift for somebody every day.
Right.
So create that plan. So, and what I mean by that is, so now that you've looked at, and granted, don't get me wrong, after this, these are not in any particular order of importance.
Right.
And some of these tips, you may be like, oh, that's a good tip for me. Another tip, you'd be like, that doesn't apply. And that's okay. There's no commitment to any of this.
Right.
So this is just information for future thoughts or, for you to ponder, as you like to say, Bryce. So, and what I mean by that plan is think about what it is. Like, are you going to be visiting family? Are you not going to be visiting family? Are you going to see friends? Are you going to travel during this time? Are you not going to? Because you can't wait to the last minute to do this, but also too, you got to get your mind sometimes, not everybody, but even if your family, even if everybody's great, you still have to get your mind right for what's about to occur.
You do. You have to kind of like visualize it. Like, some time ago when I would have to go to like my, and this is probably, I'm embarrassed to say, but it's the truth. And I'd have to go to say my in-laws for Thanksgiving.
Right. Navigate.
I was already thinking like 2 weeks, 3 weeks prior. Okay, we're going to arrive at this time.
And we're going to
leave at this time. As soon as the pie is cut, we out. You know what I'm saying? So,
and don't get me wrong, that's planning too.
That's planning.
And because, let's think about self-preservation.
Right.
And I'm not trying to bash families, but come on. let's
just keep it real.
Yeah, let's be realistic here, and it's not always wonderful. And families can be great, but we know when everybody gets together, especially because and that's the thing, you have to understand the dynamics of your family. You have to be understanding about that.
And certain personalities coming together.
When they come together, right? Because it may not be something with you, but it could just be two people coming together. They're not everybody's not cool with each other.
Aunt Bethel may not like Uncle Frank. And now
that's about to come out.
Right, now it's coming
Or
out.
if people have experienced like divorce or some other stuff.
Some
or, you know what I mean? Yeah, so there's a lot of other pieces to that. Yeah. But think about what that plan might be. And like I said, you can think about it in general. Like, are you going to visit folks? And if you got to navigate different family situations, like like you said, if you got in-laws, you got your family, sometimes there's family lives in different areas. And so you're trying to figure out like, who am I going to, or if you got to visit more than one house in one day, that's a whole other thing.
That's it.
So think about that kind of stuff.
Right.
All right. The next one is remember you can make choices. So this is key right here. And I'm saying this to you because a lot of times I think people need somebody to give them permission.
Right. Like,
because, we think, oh, that's not something I can do.
Right.
But you don't need to feel obligated.
Sure, no.
You don't. If you don't have it in you, for whatever reason, to travel or to go see this person or to bring the side dishes or whatever it is, then you can say no.
Right.
Now, I know that is easier said than done because of all the other things that, we may feel within our heart, and people get in the spirit of the holidays and then they want to do stuff and they want to go overboard. But here's the thing, you got to survive.
After the holidays.
Right. You do. You need to come, you need to be able to come home and still have, food in your own refrigerator and money in your, to pay your own bills and that kind of stuff. So I'm just saying, make those choices if, and, this may sound a little controversial, what I'm about to say, but anybody who works in the field that I work in, being a therapist, will probably, they may not say it, they may not say it on tape, but would acknowledge that the majority of our clients, and I probably said this before, the majority of our clients who come in that talk about the hurt and the trauma that they have faced, that is at the hands of not strangers.
Oh, no.
That is at the hands of people who are close in their life. Who should not be doing that.
Right.
Whether it's childhood trauma, whether it's whenever. But it's still that. So sometimes people's family situations is you're sitting around that table with the perpetrator.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or you're about to be re-victimized by those experiences. So all I'm saying is that if it's going to be emotionally taxing for you,
you can make a choice.
You can make a choice and say, look, you know what? I'll be there in spirit, but I'm not going to be able to make it.
Because you know what? The holidays, it brings up those, like you said, it brings those and elicit those type of experiences and emotions.
Absolutely.
But also, you know what?
Being in the home, going to the family house or whatever.
But, sometimes, and this is because, holidays, you're right. It brings out the best and the worst because you know what? What is synonymous with holidays? Sometimes it's indulgence. You have an indulgence of food, but then you might even have an indulgence of bad habits and behavior.
Whatever they are.
Whatever it is. And then that, so.
We're not going to put nothing out there, but, but whatever it is.
Right.
And sometimes people, sometimes outside of our family unit, people are trying to live a different lifestyle.
Sure.
And so then going home re-triggers that or whatever, or you have that like unhealthy peer pressure. Come on, have this drink, or come on, let's go out to the garage, or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Or you can have that. I know you're not eating like that, but you can have this. So you have to set some boundaries. And if you feel like it's going to be a lot, my strong suggestion is, bow out, don't go.
That's it.
It's one day. It's one day.
Or and maybe it works for some. I know it works for me. I set a time frame.
Oh, but wait, hold on. Don't get ahead of us. Because we're getting there. Because that's the other thing too. That's actually next.
That's right.
That's actually so you may have to make a choice of whether you can go or not. But the next is if you're going to go. You know, and like I said, I'm not telling anybody don't be around your family. This is not a family bashing situation.
Absolutely.
But we do know that, you know, like I said, everybody doesn't always get along.
Right.
And that's the reality. That's families. Families can love each other. We can love each other a lot of times better from afar than we can sitting around the table with each other. But setting boundaries, absolutely. So that could be the how long will you stay?
That's right.
And that all goes back to that plan.
That's
How
right.
long are you going to stay? When you're going to leave? If you're going with, you know, your more immediate family that's in your household, going to some extended family's home, then, you know, what's the code word?
That's right.
Or it's like you said, when the pie gets cut. When the pie gets cut. All right, well, we're going to have to leave.
Yeah, we're going to have to leave, you know,
right?
to beat this traffic back.
You know what I'm saying? Exactly. And another thing... Are you gonna be all right? You gonna be all right over there?
Because it's real, though.
It is real.
It's very real, and I know I'm not
very real.
Some people even going and saying, "Okay, listen, we just gonna eat some turkey and some greens, and we ain't gonna mess with this mac and cheese because this box macaroni they bake in front." You know what I'm saying?
That's a whole other.
That's a whole other. But right, but I'm just saying.
That's a whole other thing. Like, you know, and that sometimes, you know, that being part of the holiday experience is not, because unfortunately the holidays, and I say unfortunately, are very focused on food.
Absolutely.
Food is what people are more concerned about the food than they are about the gathering of
what
family
y'all cooking and what time it's gonna be ready.
And then the next question, who gonna be there?
And who gonna be there?
Yeah.
Right.
So the other thing too is try to refrain, you know, and this is again setting boundaries, because we know, you know, what family members may bring up what stuff, or, you know, somebody may just bring up something that is not okay, or ask you about like, oh, y'all got divorced, what happened?
Right.
Or, you know, when you get, you know, those weird questions that people ask.
Right.
So try to refrain from uncomfortable conversations.
Right.
You know, if at all possible.
Right.
And sometimes that means just, you know, not engaging. You may have to avoid a certain person.
Right.
Or, you know, because I'm not saying just tell somebody it's none of their business.
Right.
You know what I mean? Although I know I got some people in my family that they would say that.
Right.
They would, without a question, they would say like, none of your business.
Right.
With no problem.
And then everybody gonna be like,
but some people, you know, some people don't ask stuff.
Right.
But the other thing is, or ask stuff. Right. But the other thing is, I think, you know, is if an uncomfortable conversation comes up, whatever that might be for you, you know, excuse yourself.
Right.
You know, I'll be right back.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
I'll be right back. Or, you know what? Oh, I can't talk about that right now.
Right.
Or, you know what? Let me get back to you.
Right.
Or just walk away.
Right.
Just walk away.
I mean, I just think those tips are excellent. Even when you said like, yo, just to kind of like set that boundary of, you know what? If it's a house of people, whatever, maybe you just have conversation with a select few, and others you just stay away from.
Right.
And they say, hey, how's everything? Okay, so great seeing you, blah, blah, and then keep it moving.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Or, you know, revert back, like, you know, kind of deflect, you know, back to them.
Right.
Well, how you been doing?
How's
you know, that hat you got on looks good.
Right.
I like that hat.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Get them up off you.
Yeah. Another tip too is to possibly, and you know what, and this came to me actually from one of my clients who gave a tip this time, and I thought this was so excellent, and I actually pass it pass it on to other people. Plan something to look forward to after. So that can be your focal point.
Yes.
And it really is. So it's like an idea of a reward, in a sense, for getting through an uncomfortable situation to get to a more pleasant situation.
Yeah,
so, you know, and my client was just talking about it in general, but it's really something that's kind of like a mind trick.
Right.
And so the reality is that can be your focal point. Like, so, you know, a lot of times there's a lot of good movies coming out.
Sure.
So it might not be like that day, but it could be the next day. It could be like, all right, you know what, we're going to get through Thanksgiving.
Right.
And then on Friday, this is what we're doing.
Right. It's almost like rewarding yourself for making it through.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Like, and what happens is you keep your eyes on the prize.
That's
so the prize is the movie you're going to see that night or the next day.
Right.
Or if you really plan it right, you can say, you know, we got such and such at 7, so we're gonna have to leave.
Let me get a little piece of that pie, and then take that pie.
Or you know, when people come in, you know, like when people come into an event saying, you know, I'm gonna leave in about an hour and a half. I gotta go at 5. and it's like 4:30.
Yeah. Those things work for me. I mean, it's funny that you mention it, but because we do that. I mean, some of the stuff we're already doing.
Well, yeah, you're probably already doing
being mindful and
but the other thing too is we feel guilty. We feel like we're doing something bad, and all I'm saying is, look, here's the reality. People going to talk about you whether you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing.
You better know that. You better know that.
So, I'm just saying, like, sometimes you got to take the initiative to, this is self-care.
That's right.
This is self-care. Nobody needs to go through such a stressful time during the holidays.
Right.
Before the holidays, during, and then you're trying to come down off of it after, where your holidays gets ruined, where you would rather be at work than to be around, than to actually be celebrating the holidays. Right. So the boundaries and stuff, because for some people, this is their only day off. Some people for work,
that's true.
That Thanksgiving, maybe the next day, that's their vacation.
That's true.
So to have to spend it in an uncomfortable situation, have to spend it around some folks that you may not necessarily want to be around for a long period of time, that can, that's not the way you want to do it.
No, very true.
All right, so we're going to the next one. So the other one is be in the moment. Okay. So what I mean by that, we always talk about staying in the present and that kind of thing, is try not to anticipate the worst. I'm not saying that everything's going to be great.
Right.
But here's the thing. When we start anticipating the bad stuff that's going to happen, the uncomfortable conversations, the way somebody's going to, like, these two people are going to get in an argument, whatever. Then what happens is we start to worry now. We start to stress now, and we haven't even had the experience.
Now you got all this anxiety.
Right. So you want to compartmentalize the experience.
Sure.
I'm going to wait till I get there. When I get there, whatever happens,
that's when I'm going to deal with it.
That's when I'm going to deal with it. And then when I leave, I'm going to close the box.
Close the door. That's
yeah, I'm closing the door, closing the box, whatever you want to say. And I'm moving on to the next thing. Yep. So, and the other thing too is sometimes the situation may not be as bad as you think it is.
I mean, I think oftentimes it can be that way. Sometimes it's how we're looking at it.
Because what I like to say, we catastrophize things. Yeah. We make it like it's the worst situation. Oh, this is going to be horrible. Yeah. So if you start thinking that now, 3 weeks out from Thanksgiving or whatever, then when you get to the holidays or whatever you celebrate, you're already going to be there. Right. You know what I mean? And so you don't want to go into the situation, because then that's going to come through in your mood. Right. And you're actually really start experiencing it earlier than you need to. And it's going to just disrupt like your every day up until the event, and then even after. Right. No. Because after we have that kind of stress, we have to come down from that. Right. Sure, you know what I mean? So that coming down is where we feel like tired. We can't really do anything. We feel emotionally overwhelmed.
Just fatigue, mentally fatigue.
So stay in the moment, stay in the present. And then, when you, once you decide what you're going to do, who you're going to visit, if you're going to visit anybody, whatever the case may be, then you make that decision, and then you experience it in real time. Yep. All right. The next one is set realistic expectations. So that kind of goes back to, if you know the reality of your situation, you're looking at what is the dynamics of my family, my friend group, whatever, and how this is, then your expectations will be realistic and more appropriate based on what you already know. And here's the thing. Don't wish for what you know you won't get. Okay? Right. And that goes back to that personality versus role. That's right.
Don't have that expectation, it sounds like. Basically.
And this is going to sound bad, but I'm like, don't go in with hope.
Yeah. That's the truth, though.
Yeah, don't go in with hope. And what I mean by that is, hope is, I hope this time things will be different. I hope this time that whoever, and you fill in the blank, will not say certain things. I hope this time this person will accept me. I hope this time this person will be nicer to me, or will be pleasant, or that these two people won't get in an argument. When the reality is, if for the last 3, 4, 5 times that's what's happened,
it's probably bound to happen.
Now, I'm not saying people can't change, because I wouldn't do the work that I do if I didn't believe people could change. But probability,
chances are
it's probably going to happen again. Right. So when we go in with hope, then we're also setting ourselves up for disappointment.
Right. And it's included with the disappointment. It's almost like you're expecting to have like power over that individual instead of you just focusing on you and what you'll deal with and what you allow.
Exactly. When here's the thing, that person is dealing with their own stuff, whatever that is. And we know a lot of folks generationally don't go to therapy, don't work on issues. A lot of people experience trauma. It's never been processed, it's never been addressed. And they're living with that and they're carrying that with them into decades. Okay.
Right.
So a lot of times what we need to do is not internalize what somebody's throwing. Like I said, somebody can throw something at you. That don't mean you have to catch it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And what I mean by that is the comments, whatever they may say, whatever they may project onto you, I'll use a more clinical term, project, you don't have to receive it.
No, because it's a reflection of them.
Right.
You know,
and just let it stay with them.
And let it stay with
them. When you leave and you go back to wherever your peace and joy is, when that happens, you leave whatever that other stuff is. Leave it in that house where you left. Leave it with that person. Okay.
Right.
But yeah, don't wish for what you know you won't.
Right.
All right. So next, our next one is possibly reframing. So reframing is a technique where we try to look to establish a different perspective of something. So consider a different perspective to how you feel about the holidays. Because some people just are like, oh, the holidays coming up. I dread it. It's horrible. And then they put the list of things after that.
Right.
So a couple of things that can help with that. And again, that's not saying don't consider your situation realistic, but that goes back to like, there's some things, we do have to accept related to family and friends and whomever, and a lot of times that acceptance helps us to then reframe the situation.
And really, and I think you brought it up in the previous point, but just it kind of focuses us on just the purpose of why we're there or whatever, and not to get all just kind of just keeps us linear with the purpose, as opposed to drifting into the family dramas and stuff.
Exactly, because you don't need to be in that. So remember that this is like not forever. So whatever you're embarking upon, this is not forever. You're not gonna be there forever. That's the holidays will be over before we know it, and then we go into the new year, and then we start the cycle all over again. The other thing is to find potential opportunities. Are there moments to see certain family members that you are closer to? Or is there opportunities here to just see people? We haven't seen people in a while,
a long time.
Or to show them a different side of you, whatever the case may be. But I think, we need to remember, as they always say, like the reason for the season, whatever that reason is, and whatever your season is, because people, celebrate different things.
Also, if I could add, Dr. Robin, and I always think about when I hear you talk, and I'm always, and maybe I'm being selfish, but I'm always listening to you, and I'm thinking about myself, and
that's okay,
and figuring out how I can grow and kind of expand from that revelation. But also, I'll add for myself, and maybe for others out there, is it's okay to open up to other possibilities, meaning that I'm so close, like, nah, I ain't doing that, Somebody might say, oh, well, come on over. I'm always like, nah, I'll see what's up.
So that could be part of the reframing.
So now it's like opening up and saying, you know what, maybe this could be a new experience that might be different. You know what I'm saying? Then, so it's just opening yourself up to these opportunities, but still staying, like you were saying, grounded and protected within your boundaries.
Right, exactly. Because the boundaries are key, because you don't want to, because that's the issue a lot of times. And, again, I always say, when you're setting boundaries, you don't have to tell people you're setting boundaries, just set them. You need to know what the boundaries are. They don't need to know. That's not right. It's not for them to know.
Absolutely.
So just, that reframing idea is kind of like, and that's a mind thing. That is. It's like looking at the situation different. And sometimes being in the moment, being in the present can help us to reframe the situation, because we're not going to be there. Like, I'm not going to be in Thanksgiving when I'm like 2-3 weeks out.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure there's other things that people have to do prior to that.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the next one is, and this is just, remembering that this is a time throughout this time to be grateful for what and who we have in our lives. So it could be that the people that you're going to spend the holidays with are not necessarily part of your immediate support system. But if you have a good support system, then be grateful for them. You know what I mean? Or be grateful for just when you look around and you see that you are here on this earth. You got food to eat, you got clothes to wear, you got a shelter over you, and regardless of what your belief system is, gratefulness is not defined by someone's, certain belief system or what have you, or, whatever religious practices you may have. Gratefulness is a basic
It's a baseline.
It's a baseline. It's a basic concept. It's a basic. I say I feel like it's an emotional output.
Absolutely.
Because what happens is you can't be grateful and also be negative.
No, you can't. Because
very hard to be.
They don't coincide.
No, they don't. It's hard to be negative and be grateful at the same time. Gratefulness really, and there's all kinds of literature out there that shows this, that gratefulness actually contributes to a positive sense of self.
It does.
A better mood.
It does.
That. That's why people do
more
grateful
humility.
People do grateful journals and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So remember that. Remember being that this is a time to be grateful. And every day is a time to be grateful. Absolutely. But in particular now.
And one of the things that I'm always grateful for is just this thing they call air.
Yeah, air. Yeah, just to be able to breathe. Yes.
So you're right though. Right.
So that brings me to the last tip, which, like I said, these are not in any particular order of importance or what have you, but, consider, redefining what family means. It isn't always inclusive, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be, but it isn't always exclusively inclusive of biological family.
Right.
Look at spending time with who is part of your support system.
Right.
A lot of people do Friendsgiving. Yes.
Friendsgiving.
And it might be that, you plan time with them. You also plan time with your family, but, make sure you take some time to also indulge in some self-care.
Right.
You know what I mean? For yourself. And so sometimes that self-care is being around people that contribute to your joy and happiness. And, we would love to be able to do that every day. We can't do that every day.
Just can't.
Can't always be around people that we want to be around.
Right.
But, because there's also, we have to realize that there's some people that don't have family.
Right.
They don't. There are people that exist that do not have. Yeah. So sometimes we have to be thankful for that we have family, period. Right. But there are people that don't have biological family.
Right.
That, and so because of that, they usually have to quickly redefine how family is and
what the case may be. Right.
And that's okay. Right. That's okay.
And some of that, because I got a very dear friend of mine, and she has relatives out of the area, but her immediate parents, unfortunately, they're not here no more.
Right.
So, she goes through different things or whatever. But she has a circle of people that she considers family.
Exactly.
So you're right. You're redefining whoever's, I guess, your support system or that relationship that brings you peace. But really, I speak upon it, and I tell this to people too. I said, listen, I'm an addition. Never look at me as a subtraction to your life. So looking at people,
nice. I like that.
Looking at people who are additions,
adding to
your life,
deposits and withdrawals, which is a podcast for another day.
Absolutely.
But withdrawals and deposits, because that's a whole thing.
Right.
So. I really hope, we're going to try to do another podcast before we get deep into it. Probably again, I'm sure probably in December, to just kind of check in, see how people are doing and talk about, some additional things related to this time of year. And also to getting ready to go into a new year.
Right.
And a lot of times, and not taking all of the past stuff with us, because that's the thing. The stuff that has not, the things that have not, helped us and given to us, we need to leave that and go into new things that will hopefully bring, greater joy and reward into our life.
Absolutely.
So we're doing something different now. Bryce has, we're going to be doing live videos. So we're going to be we have a YouTube channel. And so this will be live on the YouTube channel. So certainly like us or subscribe to us on YouTube. And it's Let's Talk with Dr. Robin. Okay. Also, we have a Facebook page and Instagram. So please like us on Let's Talk with Dr. Robin. And, we look forward to comments, questions, and just
points to ponder.
Yes, points to ponder.
Absolutely.
And so, and I really hope, I hope this was helpful to everybody today. And like I said, it's just like anything else. There's certain seeds that may be planted that you can gain something from. Others, you're like, okay, if it doesn't apply, let it fly, as they say.
Right.
You don't have to worry about it. And hopefully everybody is like I said, doing well and and can use some of this information to help us to cope with the holidays, to be able to function at our highest level during this time.
The beauty in the revelations that you're giving is that it's not just exclusively for holiday time.
Actually, it is not.
It could be utilized because
this could be any time. This could be.
I have anything I go to, I have a plan. I say, okay, I'm gonna arrive at this time, and when the hour strikes, this one, I'm out of here.
Pie or not,
I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? So I guess you could start people can start with the holidays, but I challenge everybody that's going to start it. They might even just continue to do that.
Well, right.
Where everywhere that you go or different things that you may.
Or setting those boundaries, that type of thing. Yeah. Because that is certainly a source of stress for folks is, not having clear boundaries, going against their own, like what they feel they want to do.
Right.
I think the other day I posted, you don't need to feel like you need to be everything to everybody.
Right.
Like what we do for others, we need to do for ourselves sometimes. And people don't always do that.
Right.
People are there for everybody else.
And not for themselves.
All the time.
Right.
For everything that they would need and want, and they're not there for themselves.
Right. And then it's making me think, Dr. Robin, thank you for that. Because even in addition to not taking it long term and using it for everything, but those things can get activated in the moment too as well. Yeah. Because I can't tell you how many times I might have been somewhere and I'm at my comfort zone, and then the crowd change or something happens, and then immediately I'm planning now.
Right.
Okay.
Like it's time for me to make my exit.
Exit stage left.
Right.
But I got to figure out how I'm gonna do it.
That starts a lot earlier for me.
Right.
Sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, I'm one of those who's gonna be there.
Who's gonna be there? That's right.
I will admit, I'm one of those who's gonna be there, because that's gonna determine
how long I'm staying, if I'm even coming.
If I'm showing up.
Right.
Yes. And I think in my family, I feel like that's a genetic trait in our family.
Right.
That's that has been passed on from generations to who's coming. And that's going to determine whether I'm going to even consider going or not.
That's right.
So as always, though, I really thank you all for joining us today. And I hope that, again, everybody is doing all right out there. Until next time, be well, be great, and be you.